because I see this similarity between like identity shift from single powerhouse high achieving woman to motherhood, solo motherhood even, and then how that's kind of similar, I believe, when you go from 9 to 5 and you go into business identity.
Because I craved the flexible life so much that I stepped into entrepreneur life really easily. I didn't want to live in the box of society of 9 to 5 from very early on. I had no choice. I had to go back to work really early on, and I was just like, she's still a baby. And I'm like, there's got to be something more.
Welcome to the Yes I Can solo podcast. Yes I Can is an inner knowing you come home to, a supportive space for women navigating solo motherhood, sharing real stories and the inner shifts that help you feel steady, safe and connected, moving out of overthinking into clarity, confidence and excitement. I'm your host, Betty Fertility, solo mum by choice. Let's explore the magic of doing it your own way. Today, I'm going to have a conversation with Sasha Eburne. We met in Bali with 38 other mums. She is an entrepreneur, she's a biz boss babe and a solo mum by choice. And today, hi Sash, thanks so much for coming. Today, I want to talk about and ask you questions about, because I see this similarity between like identity shift from single powerhouse high achieving woman to motherhood, solo motherhood even, and then how that's kind of similar, I believe, when you go from 9 to 5 and you go into business identity. What do you think of that? Do you think that's very similar, like that whole having to just decide I'm going to be a business owner now? How was your motherhood journey alongside in that type of identity? Do you think it was similarities there?
Yeah, I guess for me, like a lot of people I find, they kind of go into business and then they have the kids, whereas I kind of did it in reverse. I already had the kid, and I think it was just there was so much constraint on my time. And I was like, there's got to be something else. Like, I'm going to this job, I really didn't like it. They treated me like crap, and I was just like, the long hours of having to get her to daycare and then having to fight the traffic to get back. And she was at a daycare that they would charge you $20 a minute that you're late.
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be something else. And it was only by chance by COVID that, I decided to looking at other things, because my 25-year career kind of went down the drain out of hotels. And I think because I craved the flexible life so much that I stepped into entrepreneur life really easily. Whereas I find a lot of women, they can't kind of make that distinction. They still kind of jump into business, but they still treat it like a 9 to 5. They still kind of follow the 9 to 5 rules. But because I craved the flexibility of no commitment to time for anybody, I wanted to go and get many pedis and massages during the day, that I kind of adopted that. I didn't want to live in the box of society of 9 to 5 from very early on. And I don't have a typical Monday to Friday 9 to 5 either. It's very much a Monday to Sunday, because then I just get to choose the hours that I work when I'm on point in my energy as well.
Yeah. And of course, you've invested so much time in having this baby, prepping your body, going through all that emotional stress. And then you're like, oh, I'm just going to go to work and plop you and never see you at daycare. Yeah. And having that determine your life when you've just invested in this beautiful baby.
Yeah.
So
that's what it was like. And I had no choice. I had to go back to work really early on. And I was just like, she's still a baby. And I'm like, there's got to be something more than just dropping her off for complete strangers. I always looked at my friends with the luxury of I'll just take a couple of years off to be a mum. And I'm like, I didn't have that luxury.
Yeah. Can I ask you, how did your journey come about? Because there were so many mums in Bali and there was a lot of kids. So we got to talk in a little bit. So this is probably going to be the most in-depth conversation we're going to have that's not undisturbed. How did your journey start? How old were you? And just take us through that.
Yeah, let's take it all the way back. I was in my early 30s, and I'd kind of always said 30 was the cutoff. If I hadn't met the right guy, it was going to be 30, and I kept on pushing it out. So it was probably about 31, 32 that I kind of had to push over the edge. I was dating a guy at the time. We'd been dating for about 6 months, and then it kind of came up in the conversation randomly one night that he didn't want to have any more kids. And I'm like, oh, thanks for wasting my time. You'd kind of think that, in hindsight, I should have asked the question really early on, but he'd already had 2 kids. And it was kind of a really grown-up relationship, so I was kind of just enjoying it. And then when that happened, I was just like, okay, I don't want to go and start again. I really need to go and see a fertility specialist. And so I went and saw a fertility specialist. I think I was about 31. And he's like, oh, it's not a good story. And I was like, devastated. He's like, you will likely never conceive. However, we have options. So I found out that I was suspected endometriosis. And he's like, there's probably some other issues there. So we need to get the endometriosis surgery done. And then we'll work out the best course of action. So he did that. I was riddled with endometriosis. I actually really didn't know what it was. I just thought painful periods was a normal thing. And when they did that, they fixed it up, they cleaned it up. They also did a dye study on my tubes. And he's like, your tubes are blocked. You're not going to be able to conceive naturally. So the only way that we can go down this path is to do IVF. So within a couple of weeks, I started prepping for the IVF and for, the needles. Yeah,
that was quick. Do you think if you didn't have those issues, you would have just gone, oh, I'm just going to wait. I'm so fertile. Everything's good. Do you think because there were these issues, you're like, I better move quickly?
That made me definitely move quickly. But he also said that I had really low egg count and really low AMH levels as well. So it was kind of a combination of it. And then to be pretty much told you probably will never be able to conceive. Like literally deaf in the ear. I was devastated, like came home, bawled my hours out, called my mum, all of the above, to then be like, okay, well, this is it. And I was just like, I'm not going to waste any of my life. I always knew I wanted to be a mum. I thought I would be married by then. So I was just like, I got to do it. And then what I found out later was it's actually the most opportune time medically and physically inside your body after you have the endometriosis surgery to then go and try and conceive.
Right. Gotcha. So you just did it straight away?
Straight away.
Wow. And like, how long was the wait to have the surgery?
Oh, there was no wait time. There was no wait time to have that surgery because I was seeing the fertility specialist, which is in the private. My private health insurance covered it. So I was only out of pocket for the excess. And he's just like, let's get you booked in. It was probably only within a couple of weeks that he said, the only way for me to diagnose endometriosis is to have the surgery. I'm like, I guess I need to have the surgery. So I'd say a couple of weeks. So I had the surgery in the October, recovered, waited for my next cycle, and literally September cycle came around and we were starting with those injections.
Wow. And then you did a transfer straight away or what?
Straight away, did a fresh transfer. And then 2 weeks later, pregnant.
Wow.
First go,
yeah, baby. You are born to breed. Yeah, from you can't have kids to bang, first go. So that is amazing. But what it sounds like yours is very rare from all the women I talked to, because yours was like straight up, straight away. You're like, that broke up, straight up, and there's no time, or was there time for actually fear and all of this doubt to come in, or you were just tunnel vision? You're like, boom, got to do it.
To be honest, back then I was very disassociated. I was not in tune with my body. Okay, yes, I was upset, but there wasn't fear, or maybe there was, and I just didn't recognize it because I was so disconnected, and I didn't really identify with fear or not fear. So yeah, there was tears, and there was. I guess I was probably naive as well, because I was just like, well, if I have to go through rounds and rounds and rounds of IVF, we've got to start now. That was kind of my thought process.
Yeah.
Not in my wildest dream did I think that it would come up, but there was not sort of any fear or scarcity. It was just, the time is now.
Time is now. You sound like a very, in your career, you're high achieving, all of that, all of the above. So for me, it sounds like you're just like, it's just like ticking off the list, got to get shit done. Was it a bit like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me as well.
I was just like, getting older.
Yeah, that was a bit like me. I was like, I've got it. Everyone's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, what do you mean how I'm feeling? Got the appointment, done the thing, la, la, la. I feel great. I feel good. And I kind of borrowed my mum's code. She had her 8th baby when she was 40.
Gosh.
And she was working 3 jobs and doing a master's degree, so I should be fine. But I felt, it sounds like you were like me, that I was like, it's going to work. Like, there was no doubt about it. So I was disassociated as well until later. My fear came in. So did yours Yeah. Did yours come up late? Like when you actually got pregnant, were you freaking out or?
No, I don't think I was freaking out. I was definitely excited because I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, of course, there was always the mini freak out to be like, what do I do when the baby comes? I don't really know. Like, there was definitely those sorts, which I'm sure every single mother goes through. But I did a lot of research into being pregnant. So when I was pregnant, I read all the books, I listened to all the podcasts. And one thing that I probably missed out on doing was actually reading up what to do when the baby comes. Because I had no idea.
You're like, oh, I'll just work it out. And did your mum live close by?
Semi.
Semi, okay.
Semi close by, but I did the first little bit all on my own.
Wow. Amazing. From just like, okay, that was a really quick journey. It was like you just stepped into the identity straight away, kind of.
I just worked it out
You
every
just
day.
you just worked it out.
Yeah, took one step in front of the other.
Yep. And is that how you approach business, or like when you left your 9 to 5? Like, what was that kind of a similar journey? Do you want to take us through that? Like
Yeah.
that identity from being a 9 to 5 under someone else's rules to like stepping into a new.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Like in hindsight now, like I look back and it was very much like an all or nothing for me. I worked in hotels for 25 years. COVID happened. We were stood down, and I kind of went through this journey of random jobs, being like, "What am I doing with my life?" And then I landed in real estate, just doing some administration there, and it was fine for a while. Then it wasn't. They moved me from one manager to the other manager. I wasn't treated very well. They had me doing the same task over and above, all like every day, all day for 5 days. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is going to send somebody crazy. I'm like, at some point, I'm like, are they doing this intentionally to drive me out? I'm not really sure. But because it was such a bad situation, when I found out about the opportunity of a virtual assistant business through an old colleague of mine, I just randomly one night decided to do it, set up the business, and I got my first client within 24 hours. And
Wow.
that was just because I just started chatting to people. Like I started seeing the leads in Facebook groups. And then I was just like, what if I had more time? And the thing is, I could see the opportunity. So I could see all of the leads in the Facebook groups. I was starting to have more conversations. I kept on having to leave the office to pretend to go to the bathroom to have calls with clients. So I was just like, well, this is a really bad situation over here. I'm not happy. I have one client at 12 hours that's going to pay a little bit. What could I do with the rest of my time? How many more conversations could I have? So I went all in. I had one client for 7 days, and I went in and I resigned because it was so bad. And I was just like, this just has to work. So, like to answer your question, yes, I literally went all in.
Yeah, it's just
Same
like
as I did straight away.
as your baby, like to have your baby. Well, it's all in. I feel like it's when you actually decide, and then you go, "I'm
Yes.
going all in," and that's what you did. And like I speak to a lot of women and in people in general, like it really takes a lot of pain for them to run away from something to start something. And like a lot of women on the solo motherhood journey, they because they're not suffering from a lot of pain, they're like, they're in indecision. And it's like, and I try to say to them, okay, so imagine that you're 55 or 60, and then someone asks you, have you had a baby? Why didn't you have children? And people ask me all the time, how have you got kids? That's like such a general question. What would you love to say to them, that you tried a few times and it didn't work? Or you're just going to say, I wish I did try. And so it's like, what is more painful? Is it the not trying? So anyway, but you had such pain that you're like, stuff it, I'm going all in. And that's it. Like you've invested all this time to have the baby, and then you never get to see her. It's always determined by someone else's rules and their time. So right now your life, so can you explain what you do? You actually run a VA company, virtual assistant, if anyone's listening, virtual assistant. So what I love about mums is, even solo mums in general, they get creative because you want to be home with your kids. That's what the end goal is. So you can be there for them emotionally and financially. So what is it that you actually do that's brought back more time and freedom for other women that you coach?
Yeah, so where it started was a virtual assistant business. I grew that to multi-six figures in under 2 years. And then what I realized was I actually loved helping people in terms of showing other people and other women specifically the opportunity to run their own business from their own home. So not only to have time freedom, but also to have financial freedom. And us as solo mums, there's kind of this unconscious pressure that we put on ourselves because we are only a one income family that, I always had this thing in my head that I needed to earn double so that I could sustain the household. And, I very much have pushed towards, achieving that for ourselves, but also I didn't want to live a mediocre life. I want to travel. I want to take Brooklyn to lots of different countries and experience lots of different cultures. And that's really part of my values. So that's really why I focused hard on growing that. But then I found the love to teach other women the same things. So whilst we still have the virtual assistant business today, the team very much run that wholly and solely. We reduced our client base to focus on a sole amount of clients. And then I'd say 98% of what I do is coaching women globally to step into either running a virtual assistant business, running a coaching business, or anything in the online space. And I get to teach them how to either start their business or then how to scale their business so they can step out and actually really be the CEO of their business where they're not in doing the work every single day.
Exactly. I mean, it's such a great opportunity for women business, but of course you've got to do the hard yards first to set it up. But then in the long run, imagine if you're doing hard yards for 5-10 years in a job you hate, whereas you can do hard yards for 2 to 3 years-ish, depending on how fast you grow, and then set it up so it's scalable so other people are running it for you and you get to hang out more with your kids instead of when you're 67 or whatever the retirement age is now. So that's so amazing that you help others have more freedom in that way. And so do women need, if anyone's listening, do they need experience to start? Like, what do you think are the main things that they need?
So here's the thing is most people don't know how to run a business, and that's what we teach. So we teach our clients how to use their skills that they've already got and map that into a business. So a lot of women are like, I have no experience as a virtual assistant. Now I can tell you nobody has virtual assistant experience because it's a new concept, it's a new word. But what we do is we pull out all the skills and your expertise from your 9-to-5 job and we craft a business around that. So a lot of people just step into, okay, I'm just going to be an administration assistant to start with. But what I find, because I attract women that are like me, that they work out that there's so much more than an assistant, that they can provide so much more to their clients. So I started to step into more strategy work, funnel building, tech VA, lots of different higher level skills, because one, I learned over time, but also I realized I had a lot more skills than what I thought when I started. So it's really about them identifying, well, what skills do they already have and tapping into those. So whilst I had a 25-year career in hotels and hospitality, essentially I had business management experience, I had event management experience, I managed buckets of clients. So I just used all of that experience and mapped it across to run a business.
So speaking into that, a lot of women, especially Australian women, we downplay everything, don't we? It's like you go up to someone, you go, oh my God, you look fabulous. Look at your dress. Look, oh, no, look at you. You look fabulous. Oh, la, la. And it's like we deflect everything away from us. And I feel like it's that validation thing, or like, the good girl syndrome of like, oh, love is conditional. Like if you do something, if you're a good girl, you get rewarded. And I feel like women stepping into business or women stepping into motherhood or even solo motherhood, they struggle so much because they're used to having a badge to say, do this. And because solo mothering is out of the norm, they feel like they need to get the validation. So then they delay. Yeah. And then with business, it's like, I don't have experience. I'm not even going to reach out to that person because I can't do this. And it's like, well, you've forgotten, like just write down all of the things you've done and look at your CV. You've got so many skills within there. So you bring that out in them. That's kind of what I do with my work as well. It's like, first you've got to realize how freaking amazing you are. And yes, you look fabulous in that dress. Stop, take a moment and say thank you before you receive it. Otherwise, you need to do that more, especially practicing and when you become a mum, because no one else is going to give you the validation except for you. So it's like a practice that you just got to get used to. Loving this conversation? Hit subscribe so you never miss a dose of magic, real stories, and those little shifts that help you feel unstoppable. And hey, share this with a friend who could use a little yes I can energy in their life too. So, and then, so most of the women that come to you don't have a business skills, but they do have skills from I mean, hello, of course, everyone's got skills. They just forget to remember them.
Yeah, in the beginning, but I'd say for the past 2 years now, I'm having really, badass boss women that are already running a successful business, but they've kind of hit that pivot point where they're like, where do I go from here? How do I get myself out of the business? So then I help them scale it so that they can sort of step up and be the CEO. They can take time off when they want and actually have their business run without them. So that's kind of the level of experience that I'm kind of working to at the moment. And the ones that are just starting, my team very much work with them and support them in their early parts of their journey.
Awesome. And what do you do for, like, is one thing that women in general, I'm being very general here, is we get so busy. It's like, but it's like we get busy for worth or something, like we think we can't just stop and take a moment. Whereas, like, I've interviewed a few people now, and I think it's 3 of you already that have said COVID slowed you down and got you to review your life and go, hold on, what am I doing? Okay, I better have a baby. If COVID didn't happen, who knows? Like, so how do you do you slow down or have something where you get them to slow down, remember, get back into your body, all of that? Because you're an NLP coach too, aren't you? You've got a background in that. So what's your secret to trying to ground and slow down or switch off? Because we all know when we switch off a little bit, like we have a little bit of a break, we come back better.
Yeah, so we actually go into some deep practices, because I feel like when a lot of us are so disassociated, we're not in touch with our emotions, we don't know any of that. So we do a lot of activation work. I include some sound healing and some hypnotherapy sometimes. So whilst we're still very heavy business and strategy focus, we do really focus on nervous system regulation. 99% of my clients are mums, so there's that extra added pressure, plus trying to run a business. So it's really all about reflection and being kind to yourself and actually just regulating that nervous system, taking time for you, slowing down. And really one of my philosophies is you have to slow down to speed up.
Totally.
You have to ask for help, and you just have to be okay with where you're at in your journey is where you're meant to be, rather than always sabotage it to be like, I should be further along, I should be this, I should be this. Actually acknowledge how far you've come and reflect on that journey, and then just intentionally decide who do you need to be to decide to go to that next step.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like even becoming a mum and all of that, it's like that slowing down, reset. Because I know with me, I delayed so much. I was like, no, I better save some more, pay down the mortgage more. I'm going to buy an investment to be like, oh, I'm being responsible. I'm being achieving, instead of just like, slow down. You don't have to prove, just assess where you are, reflect how far you've come, and just go for gold. But yeah, slowing down is a massive, massive thing, but and also just getting used to that as the basics, but it just get used to it as the basics, so when you are exhausted you just automatically switch off or try not to and really switch off. Though I know you're a business owner, I'm a business owner, it is really hard to switch off sometimes, and that's something that I'm struggling with some days I'm really good. I mean, and we just had a convo quickly before that sometimes we just can't, or we're so used to it that yeah. So when do you switch off? Do you switch off? Or when you sleep?
No, and I think it's I don't also, but like I'm very different in the way that I think as well. So I don't think that there's such thing as burnout in the normal terms. Like I feel like a lot of people burn out, and I did a post about this yesterday. Most people burn out because they're leading from misalignment. They're not doing what lights them up and what lights their soul up. Whereas the work that I do, it lights me up, it gets me out of bed every day, and I love everything I do. It doesn't feel like work. So in terms of, yes, I do work 7 days a week, but I might work 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. But in terms of intentionally turning off, yes, I do my sound bowls, I do breath work, I do hypnotherapy, and I love going on holidays and switching off, and I love going to get, beauty treatments, mani-pedis, facials, massages. So I at least try to integrate some of that into my week as well, which then kind of fits into that mold of 7 days. And that, to me, that's the trade-off, but it's also, for me, that's in flow. And you go.
You work, or you're in fulfillment. And that's
Yeah.
why I feel the same with me. Sometimes it's hard to switch off. If someone needs help, I'm going to be calling, leaving voice messages because it does light me up. And so it's hard to do that. But then, yeah, you might work 7 days a week, but that's flexible. One day you work 1 hour, one day you work 6 or 7. And there's times when you've got to put your foot to the pedal, and then there's others when you're not. But you're determining those hours, not a 9 to 5. You're the one that's in control of all of that, and you love the women that you work with and all that. So oh yeah. So when we were in Bali, I think a week after, or a week and a half after, you were holding a retreat.
Yes.
Well, we were going to all go home, and yeah, how was the
Yes.
retreat? Or you did? How often do you do them?
We do them every year, and they're included for all of our 12-month mastermind clients. So it's all included for them. And that was our second year of running it in Bali specifically. And what was interesting was the pivot, and I had 4 days of strategy. 4 days of strategy ready for them. And the night before day one, I threw the entire strategy in the bin. And we actually only did 1 day of strategy, and the other 3 days, we did alignment practices, we did activations, we did some hypnotherapy, we did a beautiful water meditation in the villa. I did the sound bowls, and really just dropped everybody in to become their future self. And teaching it and coaching it, I was so in alignment because I started to disconnect from the strategy, because I'm like, I could teach them all the strategy until the cows come home. Unless they're willing to change and to embody who they need to be to take on that strategy, we're not going to do anything. So it was just a real change of pace for me, and it was really a light bulb moment to be like, actually, this is the work. This is where the work is, and this is the work that lights me up. And the results that we had from that was incredible. We had one person that was kind of spinning the wheels for a while. She came out, she was fully booked, full books of plans. Another one made her first 10K month. One of my other clients that upgraded to the VIP experience, she went from $20,000 months to $40,000 months. It was just phenomenal. So we're currently in planning mode for 2026, and we're off to Fiji this time in September to do it all again.
Awesome. Well, that's so important. It's all the inner work that's the most important, because if you can have strategy, but if you're got blocks inside, and that's what I was saying to you, I'm rewriting everything. My office, mine is all like, the first week is like, you're decluttering, you're cleaning your internal things and the patterns that are holding you back. And it's for the women going on the solo motherhood journey. Because to tell you the truth, like, the logistics is easy once you have done all of that. You've cleared it. Because all these like issues of people carrying, judgment and all of that, or trying to be worthy because you have maybe a love wound from your core wound when you're a child, or abandonment wound, but it all relates. And once you clear that all out, the journey is so much easier for business, for motherhood, for everything else. And it's interesting. Yeah, strategy, logistics, whatever, that's everything else is easier once you are in alignment, you're embodied, you feel like, and you've decided, and you're now becoming the woman. So wow, that's awesome. When is the next retreat in Fiji?
It is the
June's a good
20th to the 25th of September.
Oh yeah. I'm Fijian. Yes, there you go. So I could be there. Well, I think I was going to go in June, but anyway, I'm going off topic there. But yeah, so amazing. So I love hearing about your business, and so there's so many opportunities for mums out there, because I know, finances is a massive worry for women. So knowing that there's other business, there's so many opportunities out there, but knowing what opportunity to take, who to trust, is another thing. So I love that you bring out the skill. Well, you just make them remember, like, you are shit hot. Look at all this stuff you can do, and you can do this and start a VA business or whatever other business it is. So you're just basically helping them remind themselves, and then give them the structure. But I love that you do the inner work, all of that stuff, that emotional stuff that no one. I only started doing the work when I was 44.
Yeah.
That was like, oh no, maybe 43, and then I did it like majorly. Like, I was just like, how could I just not address all of these wounds and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would avoid, I even had a coach and I would avoid her calls. Like or like I'd have a Zoom call with her and I'm like, oh, I hope she cancels. And somehow she cancelled for one of them, but the others I had to turn up. But it was like a massive breakthroughs. But she did actually say to me, she goes, are you avoiding these calls? And I'm like, yes, I am. I am, because they're hard. But once you do it with tears and everything, I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? And but it's so important to clear that all out before you even, do anything, business strategy, even motherhood. So, can I ask you what? While I wrap this up, was there a main fear that you had stepping into solo motherhood?
Do you know the biggest fear that I had, which so far from that now because of the work that I did, is what would other people think? That was my biggest fear. Like the first one was like, what would my family think? But actually, like for my mum, I was dropping the hint for years. I'm like, oh, if I'm still single at 30, I'm gonna have a kid. So like that was the main one. And then, it was once I was pregnant, telling the grandparents, I mean, they were born in the 1930s. So such a foreign concept for them. And then, what would society say? That was my biggest fear. Which now I think of that, I'm like, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. Like, it's my life and I get to live it. However, there is such a big, beautiful solo mother community out there. And that's how we met. And I love it. We have our beautiful group here on the Gold Coast. And when I went down my journey, I knew nobody else. Now I know so many other amazing women that are either doing it or have done it, or even ones that come out of the woodworks and reach out to me and be like, I think I'm going to start. And I'm like, oh, it just warms my heart because it's just becoming such a normal thing.
Oh yeah, and people don't realize how many positives there are that come out of being a solo mum. So yeah, it's amazing. But funny you say that. That was my biggest fear, I reckon, the judgment, being judged by others or thinking what they would think. Like I wouldn't even like even when I'd had my kid, I would avoid the conversation. Like I wouldn't want to say I've got to pick up my kid to someone I didn't. I was working on sets. I was freelancing, and I knew people, but I didn't know them well. But I wouldn't. If I accidentally said, "Oh, I've got to pick up my son," of course, someone said, "Oh, how old is he? Oh, and do you share what's your husband do?" And then it's like I have to explain myself again. And you know what? It was just in my head because everyone was so amazed and like loved it, but it was all me and my judgment and taking on these social constructs, when really it's what I bring it down to is, I mean, we're mammals. We grow up in a tribe. We want to be accepted. We want to fit in. And, as we're learning to walk and crawl, we get validated and go, oh, good one. And we get approval. So we learn to accept approval. And then it's even worse now with social media, likes, all of that stuff, that we get used to that validation from other people, when really, as you and I know, all you need is your own validation. But
absolutely.
And now when it happens, it's like, I can't believe I used to care. But
and do you know what? 6.5 years later, no one has ever said anything bad or judgmental. Everyone's just like, oh my God, that's incredible. Literally no one has said anything bad about it at all. So it's all been really great. There's been no negatives.
Yeah, that's the same for me too. Even like I've had a few mums going, you know what, I wish I did that, because me and my partner, we totally don't align, or they're separated, and then like now I'm just juggling and all of that stuff. Whereas I feel like I'm happy that I stepped into motherhood, because it's a freaking identity shift. It's like getting used to this new person, triggers coming up to like from parenting, and then I was able to figure that out instead of trying to work out someone else's emotional needs and a baby and my own. And then now I feel a lot more healed, that when I do open a relationship, it's out of want, not scarcity. And it's like, so amazing. And do you have any regret or anything that you would have done differently in this journey?
No. Absolutely not.
Love it. And do you think that having your daughter, did you reckon that really propelled you? I mean, and also hating the job really propelled you into just starting a business and going all in?
Yeah, it was definitely a key motivator. I didn't want her to, always have that mum that worked. And like experiences and travel is so important to me, and I wanted that life for her, and this was a means to get that. So definitely, I would say I probably would have taken a lot longer if I didn't have that extra driver behind me.
Yeah. See, solo motherhood brings so much, so many, like you look for other ways
Yeah.
to be with your child because, yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to tell a woman that is on this journey, or a woman that wants to start a business? I'll put Sasha's details below if you want to reach out, especially with the virtual assistant business. Is there anything you want to tell any woman listening right now if they're going on the solo motherhood journey?
Yeah, I think just echo your comments that you said before in terms of there are plenty of different opportunities out there, and just have a look, just research, just talk to people and find something that, you know, that you're going to love. And it doesn't have to be an online business. It could be direct marketing. It could be really anything at all, but just find this thing that lights you up, that could potentially give you the results that you want in terms of freedom and money, and that there is so many opportunities. And I think that's the first block, is they just think that the job that they're in, and that's it. That's all that they're made for. But actually just tapping in to be like, no, if you're made for more, and if you can feel that fire inside you, just go and talk to other people. Even jump out to the, you know, solo mother community and talk to the other business owners and other people that are in different networks and see what they have to say, and just talk to people and find your own way.
Yeah, and even like for someone considering having a baby on their own, even do it now. It will take the focus as well off you stressing about getting pregnant. Like just start, you know, researching a business, find out what lights you up, because the sooner you find out, you go, oh, that didn't work, I'm trying something else. And that is going to be like filling you up. So you're not like, got to have a baby, oh my God, and bracing and stressing about that. When you find fire in your belly, you won't be so focused on getting pregnant. I mean, you'll be in tune with your body. Yeah, I feel like business, when you find the right thing that's not burning you out, but it's lighting you up, really, yeah, it brings that creative juju and whatever it is in your body that can attract and make it easier to get pregnant. Thank you so much, Sasha. I'll put your details below, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Yes, I Can Solo. Remember, yes, you can, and the magic comes from trusting yourself, doing it your own way. If this episode has resonated with you, please subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm Betty, solo mum by choice, and I'll see you in the next episode as we keep moving towards clarity, confidence, and excitement.